How did the Aussies excel in sports? Hello everyone. Welcome to the Isle of Knowledge. Today, we'll discuss on how Australia uses a variety of modern scientific knowledge to support athletes in achieving greater levels of performances. A country with just over 20 million people, Australia's sporting legacy is unparalleled. Individuals from the country frequently reach the top of international podiums in cycling, swimming, track and field, and their national teams compete for titles in almost every sport. On the all-time Olympic medal count, Australia ranks 8th, ahead of Japan and mighty Russia. Outside of the Olympics, Australians have won world championships in rugby leagues 11 times, rugby union twice, and are arguably the world's most dominant cricket team. The success may give the impression that all Australians are enormous in size, giving them an advantage in any sport in which they choose to compete. And it's not entirely inaccurate either. You'll see athletic bodies everywhere. If you walk the streets of Melbourne, or visit Bondi Beach, just outside of Sydney, Australians are born athletes. But there's another, more subtle reason for Australia's success: the country's advances in sports science. With the help of trackable, sortable, and usable data, Australians have elevated themselves to the top of the world in terms of maximizing performance. Looking at sports from a scientific viewpoint may not seem novel to us today. However, a few decades ago, the mere suggestion of science in the sporting world would have surprised many. The evolution was indeed deliberate, stemming from one of Australia's biggest sporting failures. The 1976 Olympics were a disaster for Australia. Australia had a surprisingly poor performance, winning only 5 medals and failing to bring home a single gold medal for the first time since the Berlin Olympics in 1936. Defeated and humiliated, Australia decided to establish the Australian Institute of Sport, with the sole purpose of developing Australian athletes into sporting elites. A government-funded organisation committed to assisting and advancing Australia's elite athletes. The influx of money enabled the nation's top talents to receive training and scholarships. It was a major success. Australian athletes won 4 gold medals, and 24 overall, at the Los Angeles Games in 1984, just 3 years after the AIS was founded. Since then, Australia has not turned back. The secret to their success was not only the money invested by the government, but also the new approach they took to sports, using the most recent scientific understanding of the human body to inform cutting-edge training and fitness treatments. A sports science approach, put into practice by the AIS, was unique at that time. Australia was the first country in the world to embrace sports science as a profession. But how did they do that? First of all, let's dive into the details of the term sports science. Sports science is a multidisciplinary field that studies and improves human performance. It helps identify the participants' strengths and weaknesses, allowing a training program to be personalized to each individual. It covers the information, techniques, and applications of the various subdisciplines of human movement studies, including exercise physiology, biometrics, motor control and development, exercise and sports psychology, as well as their interactions. According to the experts, at its most basic level, sports science begins with heart rate, because everyone understands it to some extent. As time passes, they begin to work from there. Sports science, in general, integrates four major key sciences: psychology, physiology, biometrics, and motor control and learning. Sports psychology. The study of how psychological factors affect athletic performance, exercise, and physical activity are known as sports psychology. The psychological demands of physical activity can impact a person's ability to succeed and perform at their best. Sports physiology. Sports physiology looks into how physical activity affects the body's structure and function. Sports physiology is the study of how the body works during exercise, and the application of scientific principles to allow your body to train better, perform better, and recover faster. Biometrics. Biometrics is the science of measuring and studying biological data, such as blood pressure, temperature, hormone, and glucose levels. Biometric data are used in sports to identify talent, risk of injury, and assess readiness. Biometrics can help to identify who is at risk for injuries and when they can safely return, as well as assess athlete readiness to determine when they will be performing at their peak. Motor control and learning. Motor control and learning is the process by which humans organize their motor skills. People who gain motor control can move more accurately and quickly, while using less energy and avoiding injury. Motor skills are tasks that require self-control over movements of joints and body segments to achieve a goal, such as riding a bicycle, walking, surfing, jumping, running, and weightlifting. It is possible to design training programs for athletes to achieve their full potential by understanding how the human body behave and function. A deliberate decision, made in the aftermath of the country's most significant sporting failure, has revolutionized the world sport. Australia has become a world leader in sports science as a result of its concerted efforts in this field. The Australian Institute of Sport has grown to become one of the world's largest sports science departments. AIS sports scientists are studying everything from biomechanics to performance analysis, nutrition, physiology, and recovery. Over time, Australian sports science experts gained a reputation throughout the world. They also returned home with new information and insights, advancing the field even further. Teams all over the world are realizing How important science and data are in becoming more competitive. Sports science insights are now one of Australia's most valuable exports to countries like the United States. The crucial insight that sports science demonstrated was that, in the end, the constant pursuit of slight advantages in sports adds up. Victories can be won and lost entirely off the field, thanks to scientific breakthroughs and research. The US and China began investigating novel approaches to enhancing sporting performances. However, Australia will remain as the pioneer in sports science. Using statistical analysis of actionable data, Australia demonstrated that nerds are just as important to an athlete's success as athletes themselves. Australia has assured that future sports competitions will be closely linked with scientific insights and developments. They have changed the dynamics of sports forever. Thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing, which means a lot to me. I love to see your thoughts in the comment section.